Welcome to Theology in Action, in this series entitled, Why Study Church History? Significant Moments. In this series, we're going to look at great moments and great figures and discover why their lives matter and how they impact us today.
The year was 325 AD. The Council of Nicaea was underway. The Church has gathered to address what will become known as the Arian controversy. A deacon in the Church of Alexandria, Arius, presented some bold claims concerning the deity of Christ to the Bishop Alexander. In his claims to the Bishop of the Church of Alexandria, Arius claims that Jesus is not co-eternal with the Father, but instead a created being and of like substance with the Father, but not of the same substance. At a synod in 321 AD, Arius was disposed from his position in the church, but the Arius heresy was far from being extinguished. The Emperor Constantine, recognizing the growing theological divide in the Church, invites all of the bishops to the General Council in Nicaea in Asia Minor. Over 300 bishops attended the council, including Alexander of Alexandria, accompanied by his young deacon, Athanasius, who was only 20 years old at the time. After much deliberation and heated debate about the Arian controversy, a document was formed and then signed, though reluctantly by some, by all but 5 of the bishops in attendance. This document became known as the Nicene Creed and outlines the deity of Christ and his oneness in substance with the Father. The two terms, homoousios, of the similar substance, and homoousios, of the same substance, were coined to define the difference between these two beliefs. As a final result of the council, Emperor Constantine exiled Arius. It was a big win for the sufficiency of Scripture, but the controversy was far from over. Alexander of Alexandria returned with Athanasius to Alexandria, where Alexander died 3 years later, in 328 AD. Athanasius took his place as Bishop of Alexandria that year, just as the Arian controversy once again began to gain traction in the East. Eusebius of Nicomedia, modern-day Turkey, who was present at the Council of Nicaea and one of the signers of the Nicene Creed, who had taken in Arius, had written a letter to Constantine claiming that Arianism, the belief that Christ was a created being and of similar substance of the Father, was in agreement with the Nicene Creed. Athanasius would have none of it and began vehemently preaching and writing against Arianism. All the churches of Alexandria and the surrounding area rallied behind Athanasius, but most of the prominent bishops did not, even though most of them had signed the Nicene Creed just 5 years prior and agreed with the creed. The bishops quickly abandoned Athanasius, not willing to get caught up in the fray, and instead tried to get rid of Athanasius. Athanasius appealed to Constantine, but the emperor sided with the majority. Athanasius had truly become, as he would later be called, Athanasius contra mundum, meaning Athanasius against the world. For the next 30 plus years, Athanasius would fight for the clear teaching of Scripture, that Christ and the Father are of the same substance. During that time, Athanasius faced war, exile, and threats to his congregation and his life. But finally, after his last almost 4-year exile of hiding in the desert and writing extensively, Athanasius won over the bishops and was able to return to Alexandria to care for his church. Athanasius stood against insurmountable odds that threatened him at every turn, but he stood on the reliability of Scripture, not departing from the teachings of the apostles. Athanasius was contra mundum, against the world, but it was only because he was cum Christo, with Christ. Paul states in 2 Timothy 2:15 concerning false teachers, "Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth."